So yesterday we had a long conversation about the Metaverse and how terrifying it is. And it is a terrifying situation. And we're here to try to figure it out together. And I'm going to talk about the Metaverse every single day as long as there's new and terrifying information to share with you. Because you need to know what's happening and what's going on. I think it was Reese Witherspoon who recently said, admiringly so, that, hey, we're all going to have a double life soon. We'll have our real life and we're going to have our online life. And we're going to have an online fake artificial intelligence bank account and personality. And we're going to have a double life. We're going to have the real life and we're going to have the online life. As if that's something that people would want. It's not something that people need, but maybe they do want it. But I think they should be very careful, as you're going to see. This is the big headline, and I will share this article with you in a moment, that caught my eye. Facebook's vision for a hyper-realistic metaverse, which is this AI world where you put things on your head and you have control things in your hands. A hyper-realistic metaverse includes body pose tracking, pupil steering, clothing that wrinkles with movement, and a magnetic sensor system worn around the torso. That's the title of this article. I mean, it went line after line. It's huge. Terrifying. Invasive. Mark Zuckerberg wants us to live in the Matrix. That's what he's doing. Or we just sit in a pool of goo with things plugged into us and we live the life of a battery. And we're there to serve him and his business overlords. So Facebook's vision for a metaverse includes an array of body-worn sensors and devices that track and predict movement to create a hyper-realistic digital world with little privacy or user safety built in. Mark Zuckerberg says this interactive realm will take at least a decade to scale, but the company's engineers have already been busy designing the technical ingredients, patenting their inventions. So that's how they're catching on to what the real idea is. They're watching the patents that are being filed. And patents include drawings and designs. Delivering a sense of presence, like you're right there with another person, well, that's the holy grail of online social experiences, Zuckerberg told analysts late last year. Zuckerberg is betting the future of Facebook on this technology and is investing $10 billion a year to make it happen. Even changing the company's name to Meta to highlight his new priority. Why not just call it the Matrix? To succeed, though, the experience must be so compelling that billions and billions of people give up their lives, give up their smartphones, and rely instead on headsets and other wearable devices to access the platform. Nora says, I saw the Reese tweet, hullabaloo last night, ridiculous, metaverse, but that's what we said about people using Facebook. I agree. People are interested. We talked yesterday about being left behind and how certain technology trends leave behind friends and associates because they don't want to go there. I have friends who I no longer really speak with because they never in the 90s wanted to do email. And they don't want to talk on the phone, and they don't want to leave a voicemail. They want to type letters and send them that way. So that's the risk is in this new universe is that you get left behind. And maybe that's not a bad thing. What's clear, though, is that Facebook is trying to build a 3D environment that is much more realistic than the current iteration, where sharp-edged humanoid avatars move awkwardly. The company's future metaverse will be populated with avatars capable of authentic eye and body movement, expressions, poses, interactions, sensations, with clothing that wrinkles with movement. And these avatars will be in a virtual world where objects can be realistically grabbed, moved, altered in surroundings that can be recreated from an environment anywhere in the world. All while you sit in your bedroom, possibly feeling as though you are in and seeing a vast expanse. That is the Matrix. We just described the horror. And they have patents covering all of that and more. One is for suspend mode. We talked about that yesterday. What happens when you're in the world and you close your eyes and you can't see and they can't track your eye pupil movements? Do you just go to sleep in this new world, or are you just a zombie? What happens? Well, I guess it's suspend mode, where you can freeze an AR environment and carry out a separate task. And there's another idea of collision avoidance in an artificial reality system to keep people from running into the edge of a table, for instance. There's another patent for comfortable navigation in large-scale virtual worlds when constrained by small-scale physical environments. There's another patent for generating accurate and realistic clothing that requires mapping your body. There's one for avatar fidelity and personalization that can ostensibly have a person's avatar be a recreation of who they are in real life instead of a cartoon-like approximation. Finally, there's another patent for gesture-based casting and manipulation of virtual content that will allow an avatar to seamlessly throw, grab, pinch, and otherwise interact with a virtual object or another person. Facebook wants these virtual objects to be rendered in real time, and with the change in your eye gaze, whether they are copies from reality or creations, according to several patents. And here's the story. I'll put it in the chat. Metaverse story, we'll call it. Doris says Meta will also replace cable TV. Cable companies will have to scramble to keep up. No? Well, you have to be connected somehow. And that's the internet. So these cable companies will one day just be pipe providers. We're not going to provide content anymore, because who's going to want to watch television when you can have a separate life? And you know it's all going to be driven by sex, because that's what these things do. People are going to get on this thing and they're going to find ways to connect parts of your body so you can have sex with other people without risk of losing a marriage or getting an STD or HPV. So this is the story that I was just sharing with you. This is the headline that I read to you. And here are images, and I'm not going to scroll through the whole thing, but these are the patents. This is how you figure out what's really going on, what their real plans are. And it's all in this very long, very well done article. And another article talks about these crazy avatars in the metaverse, and is there a legal implementation? Is there legal liability for who you pretend to be online in this metaverse? Now, can you go onto Twitter and say, I'm going to kill somebody and get away with it? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on how you say it. But they can track you. They know who you are. And you can get in trouble for making a death threat on social media. But in general, where does the separating legal line lie between avatars as creative freedom and false representation, or even illegal impersonation? Now that would be interesting. Someone goes on the metaverse and wants to be Brad Pitt or Reese Witherspoon. Can they be stopped? Is that impersonation or is that admiration? And here, the line between entertainment applications and productivity is crucial. This line will be blurring as, over time, gaming applications will merge with design and collaboration tools. In fact, gamification applications could deliberately mix such worlds. Will different environments then require different rules of disclosure? Can avatars only move between environments if they adjust features depending on specific environment policies? Also, who would be allowed to alter someone else's avatar? Should only the individual that is represented by the avatar have such rights of modification? Or should legal owners only be allowed to do so? And what about parents and children? Do those relationships carry on from the real world to the artificial world? In this case, the owner of the environment, such as Meta, Facebook, or Microsoft, would have the right to make adjustments to avatars. Can third parties intervene in the looks and features of someone's avatars? And very obviously, who will have to prosecute and regulate impersonations or wrongful adjustments? Who will enforce policies of virtual environments, and how will responsible parties address policy violations? You can see it right now in the Metaverse, or whatever. Someone goes on there, creates a Ted Cruz avatar, gives him a different color skin, messes up his hair, gives him other unattractive features. Dora said, reminds me of Woody Allen's Sleeper. I have seen that movie. It's wonderful. You must have seen it. People having sex on pods triggered by computers. Absolutely. And it's a funny, 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 funny movie. The early Woody Allen movies are very funny. His later ones are funny as well, but more serious. The early stuff is just pure comedy. And related to this, can avatars become legal representations for collaboration efforts, even negotiations and deal making? Let's say you go into the metaverse and you're a musician and you meet another musician and you guys create a song in the metaverse. Who owns the copyright to that song? Who can sell that song? And I can tell you, I'm pretty sure the answer is going to be Mark Zuckerberg. It's not going to be you. Then, what requirements will emerge to make the results of such meetings legally binding? And again, what aspects and features of negotiation partners' avatars need to be authentic representations of real-world aspects? Also, could someone have to use and embody an avatar that they don't agree with? For instance, could non-binary individuals be forced to take on male or female representation in environments that do not provide diverse representations? And who defines what happens in the world? What does happen to copyright? Now, if you go into the metaverse and it's its own world with its own use, can you take a Beatles song from this world and put it in that world and perform it and say, well, I wrote it, I was inspired by the Beatles, but in this world, in this metaverse, I own the rights to yesterday. And you can't stop me, because this is the metaverse. Has its own legal rules and requirements, not related to the real world. So here is the wonderful article I was just sharing. I'm calling it Virtual World Legalities. And it talks about what happens in the metaverse legally. It's a very interesting question. And now we start to get the answers to those questions. Things aren't always green and sunny, even in the metaverse. Already, there are problems. According to Meta, a beta tester testing that world informed the company that she had been groped by a stranger on Horizon Worlds. The woman had made her experience public in a post in the Horizon Worlds beta testing group on Facebook. Meta's investigation of the incident found that the beta tester ought to have used a tool called Safe Zone as part of Horizon Worlds safety features. Now, right there, all over again, reinventing the wheel. Someone is touched, groped by a stranger, and they are victim blaming. Well, she was wearing a short skirt. Well, she wasn't in the safe zone. Well. And my question to Meta is, why is this safe zone not the default? Within this Meta safe zone, nobody can touch the individual's digital avatar. There are also restrictions on talking and general interaction among players. And again, I ask, why isn't that the default setting? Where you have to go in there and change it and say, I don't mind strangers groping me. Well, because they want that kind of interaction, that's why. Horizon Worlds Vice President called the incident absolutely unfortunate, while adding, it's good feedback for us, because I want to make a safe zone trivially easy and findable. Well, you can make it trivially easy and findable by making it the default setting. The incident highlights the obvious, that digital spaces tend to recreate the threats that people face every day in the real world, the physical world, and that tech companies need more robust safety measures to avoid making the Metaverse experience uncomfortable. So that's what's waiting for you just beyond the door. Put on your goggles, put on your gloves. Let your pupils be expanded and tracked, and go have a stranger grope you by default. And now into the realm of the ridiculous. And I did think this was ridiculous. I thought this was like fake news, made up news, onion news. But the more I searched, it appears that there is some truth to this story, which is just ridiculous. Reported by a Turkish news outlet, cows in Turkey are being put into the Metaverse already. During severe winters, cattle are forced to stay indoors. And so using virtual reality, this farmer tricked his cows into thinking that they are in a green pasture and not locked up in a cage. The virtual reality headsets were first tested in Russia before being shipped to Turkey. It appears that vets were involved in the entire process to ensure the cows remained safe. Now that's interesting, because who is the cow? Is the cow, or are we the cow? Do we go into these virtual worlds and become a cow? Or do the cows go into their virtual worlds and become a person? Where they have rights, responsibilities, and immediately get groped? And who wouldn't put them in the virtual world on their way to the slaughterhouse? Oh no, you're not going to die, you're going to go play with Reese Witherspoon. So this Metaverse thing is very disturbing. I thought the whole thing was really a joke. I didn't really understand it. But the more you investigate, the more you look into it, the more you read about it, the scarier it gets. Because you realize this is where these tech geniuses want to push us. They want us under their control. And I guess that includes cows and bomb-sniffing locusts and rats as well. Why not? Why wouldn't you want those people in the universe with you? And people who have miserable, awful lives can log in, get into the metaverse, and live there. And I'm sure eventually people will be put to work in the metaverse. You'll have two jobs. You'll have your real life job, and at night you'll go home and work your metaverse job. And it will pay you in NFTs and Gucci pants and Nike shoes. And yes, you will enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, you'll be banned. You'll be put into not safe mode for you, but safe mode for the universe. How fast will they build jails and prisons in the metaverse? And can you ever escape? Do you get death penalties? Do you get punished? Can you create a second, third, fourth, fifth personality to go into the metaverse? Because you messed up your first and second life? And are there any legal requirements? If the metaverse allows me to touch you by default, and you don't like to be touched, and you complain about me, is it my fault or your fault? I wasn't touching you sexually. I was trying to tap you on the shoulder to get your attention. Well, I don't want to be touched. Well, you didn't set the setting. If you'd set the setting, everything would have been fine. But it's your fault. Victim blaming. We touch each other by default. And so these are the questions, the conundrums, that confiscate a human life, the human condition. Are we human anymore? As I said at the start of the show, well, every 100 years, new people. But not in the metaverse. In the metaverse, you live forever. Even when your body is gone, your metaverse avatar will live forever. And work for Mark Zuckerberg.